And in our sights tonight, department store wedding lists and brides' dresses, tour operators naturally, and Edward's been on Eurostar investigating that fantastically expensive BT phone card. He's back now taking your calls, and Jonathan Lucky Boy is at Olympia at the ski and snow exhibition with Caprice. More from him and her later. First tonight, wedding lists from Selfridges, the famous Oxford Street store. Now, the promise is to take the worry out of organising the presents. The only difficulty, says Selfridges, is choosing what to have, because there's so much on offer. And using the service is simplicity itself, not for one very dissatisfied couple.
Live, where the news is happening.
Yes, indeed, it's time to open trading on the economic dynamo that is the...
Giles Dilnot hosts the Drive Time show on BBC Southern Counties Radio. His wife Amanda works in the city. They married on the 16th of August this year. They planned their wedding months in advance, including the wedding list, which they placed at Selfridges, one of the most established names in the business.
This was the glossiest thing that arrived. You know, Selfridges made a big fuss about it. There's a huge, great brochure for you. We will do this, we will do that. And besides, it was great fun to walk around a department store and say, I'd like that, I'd like that.
The Dilnots were promised free delivery of their gifts after the wedding. All they had to do was tell Selfridges when they wanted them, and they'd arrive within 7 days.
When we got back from honeymoon, there were about 3 separate letters that had come through from Selfridges, one telling us which gifts had been purchased, another one that listed about 12 or 15 items that they hadn't got in stock, and also another 3 items that had been discontinued.
Which was a bit of a blow, but never mind, the rest would turn up. Selfridges had received £1,270 for the 30 presents. Mrs. Dilnot called them up.
I asked for my delivery, I gave them 10 days notice, and they told me that I couldn't have my delivery then, that I would have to have it 3 weeks later than that because they were moving warehouse.
The delivery finally arrived on the 11th of October, 8 weeks after the wedding.
There was sort of one item per box, and I thought, fine, it's been well packaged. And suddenly realised that there were very few items on our entire list that had actually been delivered.
We actually received half of the things from our list.
25 phone calls later, they're still waiting for the rest. 11 weeks on, Selfridges owe them 13 presents worth £563 and a £106 refund for gifts they couldn't supply.
I would never dream of anything taking 3 months to order into stock. I just can't believe it would take so long. And if it does take so long, wouldn't you think someone would contact you and say, this is going to take a long time, do you want to choose something else instead?
These things had already been bought.
And our guests, people are coming around saying, oh, can we see what we bought for you? And we're going, well, we haven't had it yet. And they're going, well, hang on, you know, I bought this in July for you, and you haven't got it. People can't believe it.
The Dilnots are still tonight 13 presents short of their full wedding list, with no firm date yet for delivery. Frankly, they should have got Weekend Watchdog to do the job in the first place. Here we are, 1 silver-plated pie server, 1 royal Briley cake stand, 8 light tall rounded glasses, 2 black iron hanging candle holders, 2 black iron garden candle holders, and so on. The Portobello pine frame, incidentally, we bought at Selfridges this morning, cost £45. The rest we rustled up from Peter Jones, John Lewis, and a few other London stores. Tonight, Selfridges say they would like to apologise and say they are investing heavily in a new bridal computer and telephone system. Brides, please note it's not yet up and running. And later in the programme, another cautionary tale for brides. Now, back to Jonathan.
Yeah, Annie, welcome back to Olympia. Now, I should declare an interest, or rather a lack of interest here, because I hate skiing, OK? I think it's really boring. You spend hours freezing your bits off. A few seconds later, you're at the bottom of the slope, and it's boring, unnecessary, and pointless. But you quite like it, don't you?
Indeed, Jonathan. Plenty of our viewers love skiing. I certainly do, so watch it.
Really? Well, in that case, you've got something in common with Caprice. The only thing you've got in common with Caprice, in fact, because the Wonder Bra girl supermodel opened the show a few hours ago here, and I asked her what was the big turn-on with skiing. Why does she enjoy it so much?
Hi, Jonathan.
Hi. Now, just tell us, what is the attraction of skiing?
What is the attraction? I've been skiing ever since, what, 11, 12? I skied in America a lot, and then I came over here. The skiing is a lot different over here, though, I have to say. The runs are a lot longer, a lot more vast. In America, they're shorter, a bit more challenging.
Okay, be honest, what turns you on? Is it the skiing or the kind of pose value?
No, it's skiing 100%.
Right, that was Caprice, and this is Heine from Switzerland. Don't try that on the slopes or you might end up in a crumpled heap, in which case you might need insurance. You'd also need insurance if, say, you go skiing and the conditions are so awful you can't ski at all. But how easy is it to make a claim on your insurance policy? Watch this.
Sometimes with skiing, things can go wrong.
3,000 metres up in the Colorado... Well, here we are at Crested Butte, 3,000 metres up in the Colorado Rocky Mountains.
Join us and the rest of the team on the...
When it goes right, though, it can be pretty exhilarating and expensive. A week can cost £2,000, and that's before you've bought the drinks. For that, you get loads of fresh air, tasty scenery, and the attentions of an athletic ski instructor. But that doesn't include the essentials.
For a successful week skiing in a place like this, Tignes in the south of France, you need 3 things, okay? Number 1, skis, obviously. Number 2, a modicum of skiing ability. And number 3, by far the most important thing, snow. Off you go, guys.
But that's precisely what Nigel Harrison didn't get. He went on a crystal holiday with son Mark to Bulgaria this year. Total cost £800. Conditions weren't great though, and one day they couldn't ski at all.
It was very slushy, icy. There was rock and grass showing through on all the lower slopes. It was generally very dangerous.
The Harrisons had insurance though, Crystal Supercare, cost £34.50. As the brochure said, we give you the very best possible cover. We believe in a policy designed by skiers, for skiers, which leaves absolutely nothing to chance. Try telling that to the Harrisons. Their claim was turned down. Why? Well, for it to succeed, you see, there had to be, quote, total closure of all skiing facilities in the resort. But in this case, 2 slopes out of 15 were kept open, even though the Harrisons thought them too dangerous to ski on. So, as there wasn't total closure, their claim was rejected. Only after 4 months and threatening legal action did they receive a cheque for £60.
I was surprised at how long it took for the claim to be settled and how much fuss was made over for what was really a very small amount of money.
Much the same happened to John Craig. He went with first choice, also to Bulgaria. He couldn't snowboard on the resort's runs on 5 days, but his tour rep told him not to bother even making a claim, as at least 2 of the 15 ski lifts were left open.
But these lifts were taking you to runs that you couldn't use. You know, whether you snowboarded, skied or anything, you just couldn't use these runs, especially if you had your own equipment.
But sometimes, even when the entire resort is shut, you can still have problems making a successful claim. The resort has to be closed for the right reasons, you see.
It's not just lack of snow that causes pistes to close down. I mean, this one's shut, obviously, because there isn't a flake in sight. But sometimes there can be too much snow for skiers to ski, or the winds can be too high.
As Julia Batchvarov knows, she went on a Page and Moy holiday, but in her case, the entire resort was closed down for a day because it was too windy, but the insurance company handling the claim wouldn't pay up. Why? The policy's small print didn't cover her for high winds.
I think it was a little unfair because at the end of the day we couldn't ski, and to me that's what peace closure is all about. You can't ski, and I really think that they should pay out, whether it's due to high winds, blizzard conditions, basically any adverse weather conditions, and not just due to lack of snow.
So for a policy that serves you best, look out for one that covers you if 80% of the resort is closed because of bad weather conditions, or you can't ski because there's no snow, or because the lifts are out of action. Next, Thompson Holidays. In August, a bold initiative from Britain's second largest tour operator, a money-back guarantee for dissatisfied customers. The proviso, holidaymakers must lodge their complaint within 24 hours of arriving at a holiday spot. The guarantee was backed by a multi-million-pound advertising campaign.
At Thompson, what you see in our brochures is what you get, or your money back.
Thompson's assured customers its service was different. Complain to the local rep within a day, then the problem will be sorted, or Thompson's will fly you home. Oh yeah? Here's Sam.
Lanzarote, the Canaries, ideal for some late summer sun, which is what Pauline and Norman Arthur from Nottingham wanted. They booked a 2-week half-board holiday at the Lanzarote Bay Apartments with Thompson. Cost £1,328. But they found that the pictures in the brochure didn't match the reality.
When we walked down to the pool area,
we noticed that there was builders digging around the pool. The underwater floodlights were actually floating on the surface, still connected to their cables. And in the centre island in the pool, there was bare electrical cable just dangling in the water. Whatever had been attached to them had been taken off. Well, there was dump trucks moving around. The bricklayers were working. They were putting steel reinforcing rods into the ground with jackhammers. There was cement mixers going, and we couldn't believe that Thompson were actually sending holiday makers to a place that was in such a state.
The Arthurs booked with Thompson because they felt reassured by the Thompson guarantee, which says that if it's not what the brochure promised and the rep can't sort it out within 24 hours, they'll fly you home and give you your money back. The Arthurs say they complained within 24 hours of arriving at their hotel. They wanted to be flown home and given a full refund or reaccommodated to a better hotel, or at least one that wasn't a building site.
Ever felt misled by some holiday brochures? At Thompson, what you see in our brochures is what you get, or your money back.
So what happened to the Thompson guarantee? The company refused to fly them back and refused to give them a refund. It took 7 days to move them to this resort, the Hyde Park Lane bungalows, self-catering and half the cost of the Lanzarote Bay apartments.
When we searched through the brochure for this hotel, we discovered that it was quite a lot of money cheaper than where we'd originally been. So we're actually in a cheaper hotel and paying a dearer price.
But it didn't have to be like this. Thompson could have sent the Arthurs to this hotel, the Melia Solanis, also in the Thompson brochure, with 5 stars, and it had rooms available.
So, Edward, what do Thompson say?
Well, tonight, Annie, after a bit of toing and froing, Thompson say they've looked very closely at the situation, and they've concluded that the Arthurs are absolutely right and Thompsons were wrong, which is very nice and honest of them. And they're going to talk to the Arthurs about compensation, but Thompson would like to stress that they only fly people home as a last resort.
Right, thanks, Edward. I think we should stress, why does a Thompson customer's last resort have to be Watchdog? Next, Eurostar and its special BT phone card. Did you know 1 call can cost you £12? By our reckoning, it's the most expensive way to make a phone call in the world, give or take a peak time BT call box call to Burma or Tonga. This is the card they sell you on Eurostar. If you haven't got on board with a phone or credit card, it's the only way you can make a call. Now, it contains 120 units, which run out at the rate of 25 a minute. And once you're down to the last 25 units, you've had it, because a connection alone needs 26 units. Edward has the full story on a rather squeaky train. We join him at Waterloo.
Well, one of the great things about being retired is if you feel like nipping across to France to satisfy some whim of your wife's, it's perfectly easy. You just get on the Eurostar and go. Lille's a lovely town, I must say. I've just picked up a little something for Mrs. Enfield, and I've time for a quick coffee and I'll be off. I'm due back in the weekend Watchdog studio later on. Luckily, there's a phone on the Eurostar train, as I need to let all the women in my life know how I'm getting on. £12 or 98 francs for a card. Ready, 120 units. Please dial 0044. No, do stop checking my card and get on with it. Oh, hello. Could I speak to Anne Robinson? Oh, Annie, it's you. Annie, hello, it's Edward. Annie, something frightfully important's come up. And I think I may be late getting to the studio. I'm terribly sorry, but don't worry, I shall be there. Well, I'll be there. Yes, I'll tell you when I get there. Bye. Right. That's still that. Now, I must ask my wife to meet me at the station. Saying lift receiver. I've lifted receiver. Say something else. Please wait. I always wait. What a carry on. Replace receiver. So if you've got 16 units, hard luck. Another card, another £12. Hello, can you hear me? No, not terribly well. It must mean that we're arriving somewhere. I got the things you told me to get.
Pretty troublesome as phone calls go, and it seems I wasn't the only one who found it a bother to use.
No, try later. Does it work?
American Express didn't work. I put in the Visa, it didn't work. Now put in this one, it didn't work either.
Ah, you have to get a special one.
The official line is that Eurostar phone calls cost £2.50 a minute, but as soon as I put my phone card in, it cost me £2.60, which is pretty steep either way, I must say. If you want my advice, if you've got a pressing call to make, for goodness sake, do it before you get on the train.
So, what do Eurostar say?
Well, everybody blames the other chap. Eurostar say they're simply offering a service and the tariffs are set by BT. BT say it's a service tailored to Eurostar's needs.
But we don't want it tailored to Eurostar's needs. We want it tailored to the customer's needs.
Well, that's a new thought. I don't think they thought of that, Annie. But you can reclaim the units not used on your card if you write off to someone in Croydon. It's all very complicated.
And is that address on the card?
Oh, no, nothing as simple as that. No, if you want to know, you ask them and they write it out for you on a table napkin.
Really?
Oh, yes, that's the way.
That's amazing. So, everyone, take a napkin on the journey and get somebody to write the address in Croydon on it. Absolutely wonderful. Just one thing's intriguing me. What was the little something that you were getting for Mrs. Enfield in that fantastically chic, glossy red carrier bag?
Well, actually, Annie, it was 4 croissants and 4 pain chocolat. Possibly not what you expected.
Is that all? I thought it was a beautiful outfit.
Well, she couldn't get what she wanted in Paris, so I went on a reconnaissance to Lille, but I didn't dare buy anything without her being there.
That's probably very wise. Right, next, back to weddings, and for years, the biggest name in the business for dresses has been Pro Nuptia. Brides thinking about where to get their dress, you need to know this. Here's Sam again.
Paula Mackay spent months researching and planning for her wedding in December last year. 7 months before the big day, she ordered the dress from Prenuptial Young's in Edinburgh.
It was the first dress I tried on. I did go and try on a few different dresses in different places, but no, I eventually came back to this one because I had fallen in love with it, really. It's a Laura Ashley dress, but the only way that we could actually purchase it in Scotland was through Prenuptia. But of course, with Prenuptia, it was a household name, and so we could foresee no problems, and we completely trusted them.
The £450 dress was ordered in May. Prenuptia had until December to get it ready. All was quiet for 5 months, so she went back to the shop, but it had closed and been replaced by this designer store.
There was a sign in the window saying for brides that wanted to collect their dresses to go round to the back of the shop. There's a little office at the back of the shop, which I did, where I was greeted by the Prenuptia rep. She then informed me that the dress had come in about a month earlier, but in the wrong colour. Now, nobody told me anything about this error. She then told me the next due date would be mid-October, but obviously by this time I was getting quite frantic.
Just 6 weeks from the big day, she turned in desperation to Laura Ashley, the makers of the dress. Laura Ashley did the job. Paula Mackay got her dress with just 3 weeks to go.
I'm not at all happy with the company, the way that they treated me. They offered me no reassurance about my dress at any point, and they really took the edge off my day.
Prenuptial Limited was established in 1962 and fast became the biggest name in wedding outfitters. In 1992 it acquired Young's Formal Wear, but the partnership never worked. They split in August 1996, and Prenuptial Limited is now in the hands of the administrators.
What customers didn't know was that Prenuptial Young's was in this financial mess. What's more, both names lived on, used by independent franchisees and a company called Formal Group plc, which had taken over Young's.
In Liverpool, Ling Longman visited the Young store in February to hire 5 morning suits for her wedding in August this year.
It was recommended by friends. It was a cost of £340, but because all the principals involved had to go in and have individually sized clothing, we were confident it was going to be okay for our day.
But it wasn't. When the wedding party turned up for a dress rehearsal a few days before the big day, they had a few surprises. One set of trousers was missing. The jackets had buttons missing. 2 of the jackets were completely the wrong size. One waistcoat had an unsightly seam in the back, so the wearer couldn't remove his jacket all night, and if that wasn't enough, none of the top hats fitted.
When we took them back to the shop and we said to them, look, we're not happy with this, we want 5 hats that fit, they told us then that they wouldn't be able to provide them.
Eventually, Youngs agreed to refund the cost of the hat hire only, which amounted to £45. It was too late for Lynn to go anywhere else, so they had to make the best of what they had.
I can't forgive Youngs and Prenuptia. When I look back, we made do with what we had as best we could, but it was such a disappointment.
Ah, rotten. Lynn Longman, who you've just seen there tonight, she's been offered £100 as a gesture of goodwill. She's saying no. And on Paula Mackay, the administrator for Prenuptia, one P.S. done. He apologises for the poor level of service and inconvenience Mrs. Mackay experienced, but adds, and I quote, "It could have been substantially worse." I'm glad we don't have to do business with Mr. Dunn too often. Jonathan.
OK, welcome back to Olympia, Annie. I've got with me Tara Palmer-Tompkinson, Celebrity Sloane and Ski Bunny. Now, we were talking earlier on about how expensive ski holidays can be. Tara, what's the most expensive one you've been on?
I don't know, I never pay.
Really? You do surprise me. Well, obviously, nobody's got quite as much spare time or indeed savings as Tara. So if you do want to go skiing and you want to save money, OK, here's 3 weekend Watchdog tips to save money with Jude here. OK, tip number 1. If you're a beginner, get a cheaper ski pass, because normally, OK, the tour operators will try and sell you a ski pass to 3 or 4 different valleys. Average price, £120. But if you're a beginner, you're going to spend most of your time on your backside in one valley, in which case, get a ski pass for one valley, average price, £60. Now, the trick here, OK, is that often the big tour operators won't tell you that you're getting the bumper ski pass version. So ask, OK, because getting a ski pass to 3 or 4 different valleys when you're a beginner is a bit like sending your kids to an Olympic-sized pool when all they need is a paddling pool. Have you ever tried the cheaper ski pass gambit, Tara?
Can't say I have.
All right, tip number 2, rent your skis at the airport, OK? Most big airports have ski rental facilities. Average price, £40. But if you choose to do it at the resort through your travel operator, the average price can be as high as £76. Tried that?
Of course not, I've got my own.
If you do have your own, like Tara, your own 45 personal sets of skis, don't pay to take them on the plane. Often you'll be charged a ski carriage premium. Average price, £12. But sometimes you get a choice. They say you can pay up front or at the airport. Opt to pay at the airport, because sometimes when you get there, they forget to charge you, or if you offer to pay by credit card, they think it's too much hassle and they let you off. So opt to pay, not now, but later, and you'll probably get away with it. Have you tried that?
Of course not.
OK, that's all from Tara. She's off to go around the corner to a big opening, the opening of an envelope. We're going to stay here. See you later. Bye-bye.
How rude.
Well, finally someone who's a match for him. We must have her back. Now, animal insurance, in particular horses, equine and livestock, is one of the country's oldest animal insurers. But that's no guarantee of satisfaction. Matt reports.
There are no starters orders, and they're on.
Newmarket, the home of horse racing, and the perfect place for a bit of a flutter. In this case, on the 240 NGK Stakes.
And there goes another fiver. But if you own one of over 500,000 privately owned horses in the UK, there could be a lot more at stake. One way to cope with the astronomical cost of owning a horse is to take out insurance. But even that doesn't guarantee you an easy ride.
Jill King's horse, Harry, got a severe case of colic on June the 2nd this year. His vet advised that he see a specialist. Jill King phoned Equine and Livestock, E&L, to gain permission.
So we both said, is it OK to go ahead with the treatment? And they suggest, you know, is it OK to proceed? And they said, fine, yeah, go ahead. Just let us know on his progress.
Harry was treated and made a full recovery. Jill King faxed Equine and Livestock her claim forms on June the 24th. On August the 8th, E&L sent a reminder that they needed a more detailed veterinary report. E&L wanted this. It's the report sent to Harry's vet by the Royal Veterinary College, which detailed Harry's condition on and during admission.
Jill, it seems, didn't receive a copy of the report as a matter of course, so she didn't know what E&L wanted. She called the Royal Veterinary College and they sent her this letter. She sent that on to E&L. They didn't contact her, so she assumed that her claim was being processed. It wasn't. They still didn't have the right report.
But E&L didn't tell Jill King. It seems that it was only after we got involved that the mix-up was discovered, and finally, 4 months later, she received her outstanding £500.
So that's the case of the missing report. This is the case of the slow payments.
Trina Smith claimed nearly £2,000 in vets fees for Domino. It took E&L 3 months to pay up. Anne Connolly had a similar experience with her horse Sasha. Again, it took 3 months for E&L to pay. They blamed the delay on staff training and gave her £20 in compensation.
Then there's the case of the misread policy.
Jenny Hales thought that her horse Claudia was covered for £2,000 worth of vets fees a year. When Claudia needed treatment for a leg injury costing £800, Mrs Hales was glad she'd taken out the cover. But not for long.
I found I was only insured for £400 per incident with a £99 deduction for excess.
So Mrs Hales only received £301, and her original application form entitled her to even less money. E&L upgraded her because she applied just as they were carrying out their annual update.
Jenny Hales fully accepts that she misread her policy and that E&L did nothing wrong. But how easy is it to understand the financial nitty-gritty of the E&L policy? We went to the Institute of Insurance Brokers to ask them.
I think the promotional literature did make it clear that the limit on a single incident for vet bills was £400, and it was £2,000 for the whole insurance year. I think one has to remember that with an economy policy of this nature, that you do get a very low sum insured for vets bills, and these days a simple operation on a horse could cost £1,000 or more.
So what do you think of the E&L policy that we showed you?
Very complex.
Which is strange, because at the bottom of E&L's horse policies you'll find the Plain English campaign's crystal mark, which should mean that it's written in clear, easy to understand terms.
Well, in 1993 this company did issue a policy to us, and it was in fact crystal marked because it did reach our standards. This is not that document.
So what will you do now?
We've actually written to the company and told them that they must withdraw this crystal mark from all their documents, and in fact we've gone further. We've actually stripped them of all their crystal marks.
And if they continue to use the mark?
We'll sue them.
Well, a result. Tonight, Equine and Livestock is withdrawing those crystal marks, and it apologises to let down policyholders. There's compensation for 3 of our cases, and they're hiring more staff to handle complaints. Here's their hotline number for still dissatisfied customers, 0800 515 009, the Equine and Livestock pre-phone. And that, alas, is all for this evening from Edward and me and the rest of the team. Good night.
A turning tide brings the 999 Lifesavers into action in half an hour on BBC1 after Top of the Pops. And on BBC 2 in a moment, the latest from the World Rally Championship with the Top Gear team.
I thought I'd made it to be on Top of the Pops. That was it. That was the sum total of anybody's ambition. And then they go on it again. It was even better. I mean, that was incredible. For me, it was the BBC that educated me musically, in that you'd hear the Beatles next to Beethoven's Fifth, and I suppose that's really why I'm the sort of musician that I am. I like adding strange hybrids together, you know. In some countries I've been in, the TV companies are owned by the same people who own the logging companies and who are actually raping the environment, and therefore you get a very jaundiced view of what is happening through the television. I think with the BBC being what it is, we have a better chance of finding the truth, or hearing the truth.
This is BBC1.